I mean, I think this is a conversation of this country, but also globally. I think it's also been consistent with what Twitter has been and the conversations that we've carried for 10 years. One of the reasons that I went to Ferguson in the first place is, number one.
You went to Ferguson during the first set of protests?
Yes, during the first set of protests, 10 days after Michael Brown was shot. And I went for a few reasons. One, it's my home. I'm from St. Louis, and this felt important. And I wanted to witness what was happening, and I wanted to understand because, over the past 9 years, we saw so many acts of activism and revolution and questioning carried out through Twitter, and the conversation carried out through Twitter, but it was always somewhere around the world. It was never this close to home, and I just felt I had to be there. I had to bear witness to what was happening.
A lot of people in this room, a lot of people who run companies, whether they're technology companies or any others, want to avoid any kind of political statement, any kind of political alignment. What was the reaction? You were chairman of Twitter when you went out there. You were CEO of Square when you went out there. What was the input, if any, from the people you work with, your investors, your board, when you said, I'm going to Ferguson, I'm going to go march?
I think it was a little bit of a tough time at Square at the time, and there's never a good time for these things, but you have to make time for what matters and what's most meaningful. And while there was some initial negative reaction in Square,
because
I was spending time away from the company, and I was going back home and participating in this, and immediately I think the first reaction was why, and then I sent a very long email to the company about why. And the company understood the next day, and I think there was, an acknowledgement, and there was also a sense of this is important, and we're proud of this. But it takes time, and it takes explaining, and it takes just answering that question why.
And was there pushback from protesters on the ground saying, "What's the Twitter guy dropping in? What's this guy parachuting in here?"
Honestly, I think nobody knew who he was, so it was fine. Jack, I'd love to know what, I'll put you on the spot.
Obviously, you're failing as an interview, and he's just going to take control.
No, I want to know, though. I want to know what, talk to me. People think that Twitter is not as safe as it could be, that the platform isn't a platform that is safe for women, safe for minorities of any status. What are you guys doing to make
Before we get there, DeRay, how many people have you blocked?
19,000.
How do you block 19,000 people on
One
Twitter?
at a time.
One at a time. You're spending your time block, and why did you do it?
Yeah, I get death threats. So I did the screening of the Panthers documentary in Baltimore, and somebody tweeted and they were going to shoot me. And people came, the police came, they shut down the movie theater at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So those things are real and they happen, and that's not fun to experience. So there are a lot of people out there who are not particularly, kind that are on the platform. But I think about Twitter as Twitter to me is like the friend that's always awake, which is the joyful part of it. But it's also like somebody standing on the corner having a conversation, and you can't control who stands on corners.
And it's someone yelling at you.
Yes, sometimes, not always. I mean,
That's the 19,000 people you blocked, right? They weren't having a conversation with you, they were yelling.
300,000 people who follow me, and I've not blocked them. So there's balance there, but I do think people feel like the platform is not as safe as it could be. And I don't know if Twitter's done a great job of giving that message out publicly.
Yeah. And we agree, and I agree. And one of the 5 priorities we set forth for this year is around safety, and we think we need to do a much better job at making sure that we provide better controls, first and foremost, so that people can just really have a better understanding and control of their own experience.
So Jack, Snapchat, incredibly confusing, at least for old people like me. It seems to be widely accepted by lots of people. By one count, it's got more daily users than Twitter is. Is maybe the argument that there isn't a fundamental problem with the ease of use of Twitter. It's that everyone has used Twitter, everyone sort of knows what Twitter is, they either like it or they don't. And changing it fundamentally isn't going to increase its user base.
Well, I mean, don't know if Snapchat is confusing, and I think it's
It's very confusing for me.
but I think it's very modern in terms of like
I'm very old.
it's recognizing that we're probably going to press buttons less and we're probably gesturing more, and so given that we all have touchscreens, what can we do with them and what does the interface look like? When I say confusing about Twitter, I mean when you do something unexpected happens, and I want to fix that. To make sure that when you do something, you know exactly what's going to happen. And when you do something on Snapchat, more or less know exactly what's going to happen. But finding out how to do that thing might be a little bit challenging for some. But I think it's definitely where the experience is going, and I think we all need to recognize that as well. I don't find that confusing, but the thing I do want to fix is make sure that when people see Twitter, they know exactly how to use it.
Big discussion in the last couple of weeks about Facebook and whether there's a conservative bias, and you heard Cheryl earlier, and everyone from Facebook strenuously saying, look, there's no bias, we love everyone from every political stripe equally. Does a platform have to be neutral?
I think a platform is best when it carries every voice. And
You carry every voice, but you've got an opinion. You're wearing a Stay Woke shirt. You went out and protested in Ferguson.
Yeah.
Your politics, it seems like we could identify what some of your politics are.
Yeah, and I'm an individual as well. I use a platform, and I do believe we need to build a platform that respects and amplifies every voice in a way that the world needs to hear it. And I trust that the world will amplify and they'll retweet and have conversations where appropriate, and wherever that attention diverts in real time is where it's needed. So I think a platform, in order to be a platform, has to be free to every opinion and every voice. And I think we need to hear them all. I think we need to hear every extreme to find the balance. It's all about finding the balance.
DeRay, what do you make of the fact that the platform you love, it's important to your work, it's important to you personally, is also Donald Trump's platform, or one of his two main platforms?
It is Donald's platform. I agree with Jack. I think that it is better when we are exposed to as many ideas as possible. Not that I want to always be in proximity to them, right? So I'm not retweeting much of what Donald says, or The Blaze, or Breitbart, or the National Review, which none of those places like me. But it's important that they exist, and that makes sense to me. And again, I think the question is how do we invite more people into the conversation? For us, again, protest was this idea of telling the truth in public. And it was important that people who otherwise would not have a platform to be heard, were heard, and we got that. And that was really powerful. And I think that the platform needs to continue to do that.
How long are you giving yourself to turn the company around?
Well, my focus right now is on velocity. My focus right now is on speed and making sure that we're shipping faster against these 5 priorities. That's what's in our control. So to me, the matter of time is really making sure that we make every single day matter, and that we're actually working on something that is focused, that is really helping and serving the use cases that we know Twitter is strong at. And the number one is showing what's happening now, that real-time, live, first nature, that breaking news aspect. I think people turn to Twitter first. And number two is around conversation, and people finding conversation, finding community, finding topics that they're interested in, having them in public so we can all benefit from what those conversations those are. And that is the essence of the live nature of what we are. So it's, to me, what matters most, and where I want to show the meaningful progress is how quickly we can ship against those, and how we can show that we provide daily utility to people, that they can pick it up every single day and actually get value out of it.
So you can make small tweaks, you can make big tweaks. At some point, you're going to have a report card, right? You have quarterly report cards. At what point do you go, look, I told you this worked? Or what point do you go, it didn't work, we gotta wave the white flag?
We have a report card every single day. It's how many people are using our platform, how many people are valuing it.
Speaking of the governor, you ran for mayor of Baltimore.
I did.
Backing from some people in this room, including Reed Hastings, gave you money. Didn't do well, right?
Yeah, didn't win.
Came in what, 6th?
Yeah.
Why'd you run?
Yeah, because I think that, again, the inside-outside, we have to be in positions of power, and we have to push from the outside. And we did do some cool stuff. We raised, Bernie's fundraisers were mine, and we raised more money on Twitter than even Bernie can. There were some days where we'd average over $1,000 a tweet, things like that, which was really powerful. One of the only campaigns in the country, we had donations from all 50 states. raised over $300,000 in 70 days, which is hard for local races, and most of it was small dollar donors. Jack and other people gave, but again, the average donor size was $50.
You're going to run for something else again?
Maybe I'll go work at Twitter. I don't know.
Or maybe you are CEO of two publicly traded companies. One needs a lot of help right now, Twitter. One seems to be in better shape. We just talked about the bench strength at Square. Are you still spending your time equally between both companies?
Yeah. I balance my time. They're across the street.
Shouldn't you
from one
spend
another.
more time at Twitter?
You know, it's to me, it's just what you actually do with the time, and I think I have prioritized the conversations in a way that we're focused on the most meaningful things, the things that matter the most in the time that we have, and I want to make sure that we're building a company that we trust our people to make the right decisions, and my job there is the framework, what we're focused on, why we're focused on it, what our purpose is. And then the accountability of, are we doing the right things, and are they actually showing the results? And you know, I'm focused on growth of usage, and we showed that in our last earnings report. So this shirt says "Stay woke," and to me, my interpretation of what it means, and this has evolved a little bit over time, is really being aware and staying aware and keep questioning. It's being awake and eyes wide open around what's happening in the world. And we saw that in Ferguson. I think the thing that I didn't really consider before I went there that I saw on the ground was what you see behind the camera and on the television, what you see on the television screen versus what's actually happened behind the camera. And it was just amazing for me to see, especially at night, the press run around West Florissant and how they were telling the stories, and actually how the protesters were having conversations with them about what stories they were telling and where the focus was, and the focus inappropriately on the wrong things. And to me, that's when I really first saw this phrase in action, was making sure that we're telling our story, we're telling what's on the ground, and we saw it live through Twitter and through Vine.